Welcome to MAX101. Today we are going to be looking underneath the trains. Everything that is not normally viewable by the passengers. Alright, let's open the hood. Well, I guess there's no hood, so instead let's look behind the coupler head. So here's a picture from Max Facts blog. I know I keep using his pictures. He has really good pictures. I'm sorry, sir. Okay, this is a picture of the actual coupler head. Now you'll notice here that there is a bell, in this picture at least. Now they have retrofitted some electronic bells on some of the Type 2s and 3s. There's also a bumper underneath here to prevent anything from being dragged under the train, so it just, if something gets caught there, it's just pushed. It doesn't get dragged under the train and damage anything else. The coupler head itself can bend left and right, and so if it's hooked to another train, it allows it to turn corners easier, much easier. We're going to be getting into a video on coupler heads later and how to couple and decouple trains. There's something here that I don't think is visible in the picture. It's called an anti-climber, and to my knowledge, these things have never been used. Good. Basically, when two trains collide together, the anti-climbers will kick in and prevent one train from climbing onto the other one. And there's also something down here called a transponder, which I talked about back on episode 11 on the call loops. It's a wedge-shaped piece that goes more, it's quite deep into the train, almost in the driver cab. And it's a wedge-shaped piece, and it's used for call loops. So it's used to pick up the signal from the call loops and light up your VTAG buttons. If you don't know what I'm talking about for call loops and all that, watch the video for that. Now, down here by the wheels, you'll notice that there's skirts that basically hide everything out of view. Now, once upon a time, when the Type 1s first entered Portland, for a while, there never used to be skirts by the wheels, and so the wheels were always exposed. But when the Type 2s came out, they were covered, and so they covered up the Type 1s to better match them. Now there's a friction brake in here, which is a hydraulically powered brake that will press down when the train drops to below about 3 miles an hour. And this is what brings the train to a stop. We'll also get into braking and the different kinds of braking, and that'll be its own episode further down the road as well. There's also a sanding tube down here that will deploy sand onto the tracks if they're detected to be slippery. It's down here by the wheels. You might notice on the train that there will be these boxes that are filled with sand. They're the most obvious on the Type 2s and 3s. They're these boxes that are filled with sand. And sometimes if you're riding the train, especially if it's really rainy or if it's just slippery conditions out making the rails slicker, when you speed up or slow down on a hill, it's going to have a harder time actually slowing the train down. And so you might hear a buzzing noise coming from these things. That's it deploying the sand onto the tracks to help give it more traction. Now I have a couple examples of the sanders in action and what they sound like on the train. So here's a couple of examples of the sanders in action. So now let's talk about things that are controllable from the inside of a driver's cab. It's not necessarily under the train, but it's still things you have control over that I think the public probably doesn't know about. So let's talk about the lights. So you have your headlights, which have a low beam and high beam setting. And you also have a third light right up there in the middle, up on top. That is known as the Cyclops Light, or railroad light. It's either way. This bright light is used all day and all night. When you first switch your train into forward using the reverser, the Cyclops will automatically come on in the direction of travel. So if you put the reverser into reverse, the Cyclops will light up on the other end. But if you put it in forward, it'll light up in the forward direction. And it's separate from the headlights. But then the bright light up there is your Cyclops light. And it can be turned off with a momentary pedal. So there's a foot pedal inside that will turn the Cyclops off. This is really only used at night when trains are passing each other because the Cyclops is that bright. It's kind of similar to when you're driving on the highway If you have your brights on, you turn those off when you're passing other cars so that you don't blind them. And on the roof, you have all your HVAC units and some electrical units and things for where the pantograph is. The pantograph is that connector that connects the train to the overhead wire. There's a lot of electrical components up on the roof, especially on everything that is not a Type 1 because of how the trains are built. The Type 1s are high floor trains, so there's a lot of components underneath where the passengers are. But in the Type 2s and 3s, they shoved a lot of those components up to the roof. So there's a lot of things about these trains in general. And what I've covered here is not everything under the trains. But I just wanted to give you a good idea. I don't have any good pictures or videos there because I do not work for TriMet. I do not know anybody that works for TriMet. I'm just heavily interested in the system. And all these pictures and things that I've showed throughout my videos, I'll tell you who they're from as I show them on screen. And MaxFax is my main source for images, good images. And if you're interested in the HVAC aspect, I'm going to be doing a video on that a little bit later, so just stick around for that. For now, this video's gone on for quite a while, as they all do, and so I will see you on the next one.